Today's the last day. How sad. So, welcome to your last maths lesson for year 7. I'm very sorry that it's got to be in this very weird format, but at least we've been able to do some proper maths as we're going along. Today I've set you a task from my favourite textbook, just to see all the stuff that you can remember from over the past bits of revision. So lots of these questions are nice simple questions where you just have to work out what the answer is, and it'll ask you to do the multiply. Now I don't mind if you use the method that I've taught you or a grid method, so 22 times by 17, which is 10 and 7, and then you fill in the grid with all the numbers. 10 times 20 is 200, 20 times 7, 140, 2 10s, 2 7s, and then you add up all these numbers: 200, 340, 360, 374, 374. Or whether you do it this way, which is just as quick, 2 7s are 14, carry the 1, 2 7s are 14, and 1 is 15. Now we're timesing by 10, we're done with the 7. 1 times 2 is 2, 1 times 2 is 2, add them up, 4, 7, 3. And you get the exact same answer, woohoo! So I don't mind which way you do it, but I do want you to use an appropriate method, and that would be an appropriate method for multiplying, either of those, or even if you've got your own method for multiplying. As long as it's a good way of doing it and it works to your answer, then that's perfectly fine. Now remember, an appropriate method for 156 divided by 12. Now 156 divided by 12 is what's called a quotient. 156 divided by 12 equals. Now, doing it this way, you would need a calculator, and that is not an appropriate method. So that is not a method. That's a way of getting the answer if you're allowed. But we're practicing using our calculators. Not using our calculators, we've done that. So we would have to say, right, how many 12s are there in 1? There aren't any. So we haven't used the 1 yet, so we've got 15. How many 12s are in 15? Well, there's 1 12 in 15 with 3 remainders. How many 12s in 36? Ah, well, there are 3 12s in 36 with no remainders. So our answer is 13. That is an appropriate method. Now, on the second page of today's questions, you'll be asked things about quotients when you might be thinking, what on earth is a quotient? Well, that is all a quotient is. So that's your new word for today. I've put it on the EduLink. The new word is quotient, and it simply means divide by. Now there's a question that says, for example, express the remainder of the quotient as a whole number. So if it says, for example, 126 divided by 5. Now if it says use a calculator, well, that is super easy, and you type in 126 divided by 5, and it equals 25.2. But that's not expressing the remainder as a whole number. So here's our, doesn't say remainders, does it? So what I'd like you to do is either give your answer like this. That's totally fine. That's what it does mean. 126 divided by 5. We can all see it's not going to go in. Does 5 go into 1? No. Does 5 go into 12? Yes, it goes in twice with 2 remainders. Does 5 go into 26? Yes, it does. It goes in 5 times with 1 remainder. So we've got 1 remainder left. We are dividing by 5, so it's 1/5. Or we could have said remainder 2. But I don't want you to do that anymore. I do not want you to do that. I don't want you to write remainder. So either, for these questions that ask you to do it, expressing the quotient as a whole number, either 1 when we're dividing by 5, so you can either give your answer as 25 and 1/5 remaining, or 25.2, because 0.2 is 2 in the tenths column, isn't it? 2/10. That's the same as 1/5. So either way, either of those two answers, I'm very happy with. And in fact, I would really like it if you did some like this and some like that, because that'll explain, that'll show me how that you know what you're doing. So the questions today, that's the newest kind of idea, which you already do know. Shall we do one more quotient question? Let's go with 206 divided by 15. All right, so 206 divided by 15. Does 15 go into 2? No. Does 15 go into 20? Once, with 5 remainders. Does 15 go into 56? Yes, it does. It goes in 3 times. That's 45, which means we've got 11 remaining. 11 what's? Oh, we're dividing by 15. So our answer is 13 and 11/15. There's our answer. Or we can type it into the calculator, and we do 206 divided by 15, and it'll give us 13.7333 recurring, and that's why that's not the bestest way. Now, what many of you have found is that it will give you on the calculator 206 and then a funny little symbol over 15. So if you press your S to D button, there it is, it'll turn your number back into a usable decimal or fraction. Alright, so there are also questions there on HCFs and LCMs, so look back at your notes about those. When it asks for mental methods, so if you're dividing by 8, you might round that off, divide by 10, and get an approximation. But best of luck. If you've got any questions, do send me an email. Take care and have a great holiday.